Hello everyone, my name is Lexi Nieves and today I will be presenting my final research presentation on inbreeding depression in cattle. To start off, I would like to discuss what inbreeding is in general. So inbreeding is a mating system which involves mating related individuals together, such as siblings. The result of inbreeding is offspring which look very much alike in the genetic aspect. The final effect of inbreeding is an increase in homozygosity, which is the possession of two identical alleles of a particular gene or genes by an individual. This graphic that I have here illustrates a portion of the pedigrees for two founding bulls of the specific shorthorn breed. So Favorite and his son Comet are both the bulls that were inbred. The parents of Comet share common ancestors, which are Favorite, Phoenix, Foljambe, and Favorite in their known pedigree. The parents of Favorite share common ancestors, which are Foljambe and Favorite. This diagram is a common format for examining inbreeding. The paths between the sire and dam of the individual of interest are used to calculate the inbreeding coefficient. I will now like to discuss what inbreeding depression is. So inbreeding depression is the reduced survival rate and fertility of offspring of related individuals. It is also the decline in phenotypic performances of livestock animals, which increases levels of inbreeding. Inbreeding depression is also the result of inbreeding due to the fixation of unfavorable recessive genes in F2. So inbreeding depression has many effects that come along with it. So inbreeding depression affects all species, including cattle. A research study was performed regarding inbreeding on production and fertility traits in Canadian Holstein cattle. The results concluded that inbreeding depression was observed for all production and fertility traits. This study also determined more negative effects were estimated from recent inbreeding rather than ancient inbreeding. So many may be asking, is inbreeding in cattle still practiced today? So inbreeding is definitely still practiced by some breeders and farmers. The average inbreeding coefficients of Holsteins rose from 0.4% in 1970 to 5.8% in 2012. Line breeding is the most common method of inbreeding. So what is line breeding? Line breeding is the breeding of distantly related relatives. Meanwhile, inbreeding is the breeding of very closely related relatives. In line breeding, the goal is to keep the amount that any animal contributes to the DNA of any descendant at or below 50%. However, with inbreeding, you will find a higher degree of influence. For example, a sire/daughter mating will result in an offspring that carries 75% of its DNA from the sire and only 25% from the maternal dam. This dramatic increase was due to the selection pressure on the bulls. So there are many methods that you may be able to use to prevent inbreeding. So although there are some benefits when it comes to inbreeding, choosing this mating system results in a lowering in performance. Therefore, it's important to become aware of how to prevent unwanted inbreeding from occurring in the future. According to Jennifer Thompson of Montana State University, keeping accurate pedigree records is one of the most efficient ways to prevent inbreeding from occurring. If the farmer is aware of the relationships within the herd, inbreeding will be able to be prevented. Another method would be to avoid keeping a bull for a long amount of time. This method will ensure the bulls will not be able or capable of breeding with his daughters. Another method would be to separate younger cows and older cows into different fields. This will prevent an older cow from mating with a younger cow, which might be their offspring. Not only is it important to make sure they are in separate fields, but also to make sure they are secure. If an area of a fence is broken and the cow enters the other field, many problems can be caused when it simply could have been avoided. So it's important to be aware of that. In some cases, inbreeding is necessary or inevitable. So it is important to also know ways to manage inbreeding. So one tool is the online mating predictor. This tool works by calculating the inbreeding coefficients, well as the details on the depth of the pedigree. Another tool is known as mate allocation tools. This tool works by creating a mating list based on a list of candidate sires and dams. These two methods may be helpful when trying to manage and be in control of inbreeding. The final method I would like to discuss in preventing inbreeding would simply be to perform crossbreeding instead of inbreeding. So crossbreeding is an animal produced by two different species, therefore they are unrelated. Since they are unrelated, it prevents many of the issues that may be present in related individuals made together. In conclusion, we have learned many facts about inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression is the greatest downfall of inbreeding. Although inbreeding is not always highly recommended, it may be practiced as long as it's well monitored. This is due to inbreeding in recent generations being considered as more harmful than inbreeding on distant generations. Inbreeding depression is increasing in Holstein cattle, which means that inbreeding causes a decrease in total milk production. For every 1% of inbreeding, lifetime milk production drops roughly 400 pounds in dairy cows. Therefore, the inbreeding of cattle should not be put to a complete halt. Instead, it should be monitored efficiently. And here are my references.